Okay. Let's see, we are starting the live stream on YouTube. Let me hit the brightness a little bit here, brighten things up. Boy, the sun's going down. Not too long ago, I was doing these, and the sun was still bright. So it's a sign we are getting closer to winter. It's dark outside. Hello, folks. Those people on YouTube, we're going to start right now. Just adjusting the picture a little bit. All right. YouTubers, you get a little bit of a early preview there before I'm ready. And everybody else, we're just going to hit the live button in here in a minute. Oh, I got some chatters. Let me see what's going on. I got the chat turned off on YouTube, by the way, because I can't deal with two chats at the same time because, okay, here we got the public chat room. All right. Hey, Susan, thank you. The audio on my machine is incomprehensible. Hey, Darcy, is the sound okay now? Is everything okay now? Somebody chat me up and let me know. Sound okay? Sound okay? All right. I'm waiting for somebody to let me know. Sound is okay. Thank you. Somebody text me back. All right. We see some names here. Tammy, Sam, loud and clear. Thank you. That's what I need. I need to get going. Hey, thanks, Darcy. I hope you're pronouncing your name right. I don't know who you are. Hey, did any of you come from Facebook? I was on Facebook the other day with my account, Khabir, Southwick, and Herbman, and I was posting. Oh, is that Sam? Sam, my client, Sam, or you came from Facebook? So I saw all these YouTube groups about anxiety, and I was reading the stories. Oh my God, it was kind of saddening because there were so many people talking about not being able to function, not being able to work, having panic attacks, and a lot of fear. So it was really quite shocking how many people there are. Now, of course, I'm dealing with patients every day with a lot of anxiety. And let me just get ready to show you some of those testimonials to give you hope. Welcome if you did come from YouTube. I mean, not YouTube, Facebook. We're going to hit the record button here any minute. I'm just warming up, like kind of like a boxer there. I just kind of got to get my brain going, my mouth going, my thoughts going. Uh, and that's what I'm doing now, getting all ready. Well, we got a lot of testimonials, boy, on anxiety and how fast these herbs work. That's what really blows people's mind. And they're safe. You can take these without concern. You can take them long term. I've got clients been taking them 15, 20 years. They're still ordering them from me. No side effects, no harm to your liver. Um, of course, it's better to change your lifestyle and try to do other activities like yoga and meditation and maybe move to a better home or a better place or a better location. But it helps people manage. So we're going to talk about a whole range of these type of issues. General anxiety disorder, as they call it, panic disorders, phobia, social anxiety disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, post-traumatic stress disorders, and separation anxiety. Now, I don't use any of these terms. These are all medical terms. So we're going to speak in general terms and cover all these. In Ayurveda, we really look at things very differently. The degree of anxiety, because it's a vata issue. It's called vata prana sutra. It means too much air and activity and lightness in the head. So with all these names that you're talking about here, phobia and even OCD, these are only going to confuse you, just like ADHD just confuses you and doesn't give you a real sense of what your issue is. It doesn't give you any help in treating it by having these types of medical diagnoses are just completely useless. I haven't even started the recording yet. We're going to start in a second. I just like to say a few things before the official recording goes up, which will generally be, saved and turned into a video and things like that. So we're going to start that recording in a minute. But I do want to say that those that we this very not difficult to treat. The difficulty is for the people to remove the causes that are doing it. Maybe sometimes the stimulants, their lifestyle, their work, their job, their relationships, their debt, poverty, past trauma. These are the things that are difficult to remove, these causes. Um, and of course, many people can have, anxiety due to poverty, to debt, to exposure to violence, to past traumatic events, which, it cannot be easily changed. And then symptoms are, trembling, shaking, fear, etc. We're going to cover a lot of these, and some of these symptoms we treat them individually. So let me just start. I feel pretty warmed up. I sound good, folks. Okay. Thanks, Susan. Thanks for the heart. And Moon, more people have joined. I see Susan Bindesh, but you've been really loyal, coming to a lot. Alexia, I think, and Sam and Tammy and Andrea, welcome. You're all on your phones, so you probably can't even see me. You're just listening. And then there's a bunch of people that I don't see your name, so I can only see some people's name for some reason. A lot of people's names just don't show up. All right, then we're going to talk about the treatments. All right, let me get going here. Oh, Jordy. All right, good to see you. Good to see you. All right, say hello, folks. Tell me, and then let's get going. Ready? Natural treatments for anxiety and stress. And I think since we're talking about anxiety, I have to tone it down a little bit. I need to slow down. I need to speak more slow. I don't want to stress anybody out. Okay, so I'm going to tone it down a little bit. Breathe in, breathe out. Everybody just relax. Watch your thoughts go by. Stop thinking. Breathe in, breathe out. Feel your body get heavy, sinking into your chair. Put your feet firm on the ground. Rest your arms gently on your side. Let your eyes become droopy and closed, and just try to relax. Okay? Now we'll help you with your anxiety. All right? Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining me today in this live webinar on natural treatments for anxiety and stress. This is a very important issue and health issue, or mental health issue in our society today, because our society lives in very stressful circumstances. In fact, an Ayurvedic doctor once visited me, and he was surprised at how fast-paced our life is, how much pressure we have, how impatient people are. And, of course, we have that also in India. So, but maybe he was in the countryside, or, I think when you live in the countryside like I do, and then you go into the city, you wonder how people can live with that fast pace, that pressure, the aggressiveness around you, and other things such as the threat of violence or the amount of poverty you may see. And all these can lead to more stress. So our life in general is very, very stressful. And even if we don't live in a big city, we could be living in the countryside or a third world country where we may not have all this activity, but then we have to face the stressors of poverty, malnutrition, and even violence, in our lives, which can create stress. So I would say stress and anxiety are a major issue worldwide. So I will say up front that, herbal remedies are very, very effective at managing your mood and helping to relax your nervous system and help you to overcome many of the symptoms such as overthinking, poor sleep, panic attacks, racing heart, breathing fast, and hyperventilating and becoming immobile and not being able to function. The herbs can help this very, very quickly. But we have to go back and we have to look at the causes. And we're going to cover the causes. We're going to cover typical symptoms. And we're going to cover dietary recommendations. And of course, the herbal remedies, which are very, very effective in this case. Now, I know most people are used to more medical terms like generalized anxiety disorder or panic disorder disorders, our phobias, our social anxiety disorders, our obsessive complexes, compulsive disorder, our post-traumatic stress disorder, or even separation anxiety disorder. Well, those medical terms mean nothing to us. They don't help me in your treatment. I mean, if it's something that can be changed, like then that's something that you'll have to do. If there's something in your personal life that's your cause, and that is your lifestyle and how you're living. But these medical terms are of zero value. In Ayurveda and in my practice, when people contact me about stress, we try to move past these medical terms, particularly the ones like ADHD, or OCD. I mean, these are labeling people and setting them up for thinking that taking a medication is going to remove this little medical condition, when the stress is still there, the underlying causes causing the stress still remain, and nobody's discussing those. We're going to go back and talk about common root causes. But when I have a patient, I try to look at what is the degree of anxiety, because in Ayurveda, this is a vata condition involving prana, which is our life force. Prana Vayu Sutra is our life force system. And this is represented by light, cold, dry, active qualities. So when a person is light-headed, overactive, thinking, and then they can start to breathe faster, their heart can start racing quicker. That is all vata imbalance in Ayurveda, vata imbalance. So we know that vata has to be pacified and managed in that type of condition. Now, in Ayurveda, we would look at other doshic imbalances. If there was anger, irritability, aggression involved, and high blood pressure and violent tendencies, then we know there's pitta as well. See, so that would be a vata and pitta. We could call that kind of like frustration, anger. You get frustrated and mad and angry, but maybe the anxiety is triggering it. This is called vata pushing pitta. So you're anxious and nervous, but instead of having a panic attack, you became angry and aggressive. That's vata pushing pitta. So we're not really going to cover that variation. And then there's also kapha imbalance, which is related more to the tamasic quality of a person's mental state. And that is, there's sadness, lethargy, depression, lack of motivation, and even slower heart rate, inability to get out of the bed in the morning. And so that's more leaning towards a different type. Now, there can be anxiety involved, but this is a different type of anxiety in Ayurveda than what we're talking about today. So we are simplifying the anxiety for this conversation. And I do other webinars on anger and depression. And then, of course, in private practice, you'll realize that, people can have anger, depression, and anxiety all mixed together. And that, of course, is more complex in treating, and we are simplifying things. But if we stick back to the vata imbalances, which is what this webinar is about, that's involving, symptoms like trembling hands, fear of losing control, fear you're going to die, intense feelings of terror, chills, feelings like you're choking, difficulty breathing, chest pain, nausea, racing heart, sweating, tingling sensation. That's what we're talking about today, these symptoms. These are all vata based. Not saying that everybody would be perfectly in that category, but that's what we're educating you about in this course, because that's the way we have to learn. We have to learn in this manner. We don't need these medical terms. And, a pharmaceutical medication is not going to resolve your issues long term. And now we know that many of these pharmaceutical medications for mental health issues are very harmful and create a sense of dependency. And I would say half of my clients who come to me with anxiety are coming because they're trying to get off their medication. It's always easier to treat a person before they start the medication. That's the preferred route. And of course, if there's medication involved, it only further complicates the case. Now, what are the causes? I mean, it can be hereditary, but not hereditary in the sense that you got the genes for anxiety. It's because you were raised in a family who was stressed out, anxious, and this environment created it for you. Like if a child, is a lot of violence around the child could grow up and have a violent nature. If there's a lot of stress and panicked attacks and screaming, and then the child can pick up these. So we could call that hereditary, but I would not say it's genetic. And there also can be hormonal imbalances. We're not going to talk about that today. That's hormonal imbalances having to do with serotonin, dopamine. But many of these herbs have found to help these hormonal imbalances. So it's not that we're completely ignoring them. It's just in Ayurveda, we're not talking about them, but these serotonin levels can actually end up improving. Many of my clients, after taking the herbs, said these hormonal imbalances improved, but I didn't give them a hormone replacement therapy. So I think these herbs are very broadly helping, and we may not even understand how they affect our nervous system, how they affect our hormones. It's very advanced. And in Ayurveda, we don't really have to break it down like that. Ayurveda doesn't need research. Ayurveda doesn't need a bunch of case studies. Ayurveda doesn't have to understand how, what amino acids are in these herbs or what phytonutrients are in those herbs. That's from a nutritional scientific point of view. As an Ayurvedic doctor, we just have to understand and diagnose the person's state. And of course, based on these imbalances, which we talked about earlier, more based on the vata with the anxiety, the pitta with the anger, and the kapha with the depression, which is based on these qualities of the mind. Sattvic mind, which means peaceful mind. This is also vata. And rajasic mind, which means aggressive. And then tamasic mind. This is another subject, but this is the way that Ayurveda looks at the mind in this. And the goal, of course, is to have a sattvic mind. Sattvic is, like we could say, the meditative mind, the mind that is still, the mind that is not disturbed, the mind that is in a state of peace. You know that your mind is in a state of peace when something happens to you that you don't like okay, you knocked over a vase or a glass, or something broke and you broke it. Now, when we're young, we get mad. Oh man, damn, I'm so stupid. Oh man, we beat ourselves up. And then we get a little older, we don't say so much, but maybe in our own mind, we're still like upset. We don't forget it right away. We have attachment to it, so we feel bad. We broke something, and we lost it. But the sattvic mind, there's no thought except get the broom, get the dustpan, and clean it up. That's the only thought. See, there's no thinking, because it's the thinking that's creating the stress. If we did what we had to do without thinking, and because the thinking is creating the attachment. The thinking is remembering the past. There is no past. The past only exists in your head, and maybe some photos, maybe on Google, maybe social media. You can see some remnants of your past. But it's really, if you're worried about the past or regretful about the past or feel upset about the past, that's in your head. So you can see that a lot of our stress comes from ourselves, from our overthinking. And if we're thinking and worried about the future, nobody knows the future, even tomorrow. We could have another pandemic. We don't know. So thinking about it is what's creating the stress. Your life today in that moment is what's important. Now, if a lion comes through the door and rushes at me, and I feel anxiety and panic and want to run out the door, I'm still in the moment, but that's the moment. Because if the fire is burning down, or it's a house, or it's a tragedy, that's normal. We all have stress in life. You need the stress to get moving. That's, of course, now we know the adrenals submit to put out cortisol and adrenaline, and that helps us to, to fight the tiger or fight the battle or dealing with the emergency. But most of our stresses are not coming from these actions taking place in the moment, because we're not getting attacked by tigers. We're not in war situation. We're really coming from our thoughts. Some people, it's from the past, thinking about the past, and some people, it's worried about the future. But the secret is to be in the moment and only observe your thoughts. And a method is used for doing this is pranayama and meditation. And pranayama is the observation and control of your breath. So that's always the first thing you should try to do when you feel some stress, is to sit down and breathe and only think of your breath. And what you're doing is you're making your mind focus on something instead of thinking. Breathe in, hold it for a second, relax in that empty state, and then breathe out completely, and make a little effort when you exhale to exhale all of the air, all of the carbon monoxide, all of the toxins, all of your worries. Let's try that again. Breathe in, hold it, feel the emptiness, the bliss, and then exhale. Push it all out, all the worries. Then take another big breath. And then let go. So just breathe in, breathe out. Relax, feel heavy. Put your feet flat on the ground. Put your arms down, relax them. Drop your shoulders down. Let your eyes droop a little bit. And just keep watching your breath. That is the best thing you can do for your stress. And then you can practice every day to do this type of practice of breathing and observing your breath and sitting quietly and not thinking. And to help you not think, there are many tools. When I was in India, the one guru or ashram I was in, they used just little dots, that a little plaque, and they put it in front of each person in a little stand. It was like a white piece of paper with a black dot. And we were only told to look at the dot. That's it. And the first day, we only did like 1 minute, 2 minutes. Then the next day, we kept increasing until you could look at that dot for 5 or 10 minutes without thinking. Other ashrams did the flame. I like the flame personally because the flame and the candle, it's kind of moving. I think the dot's more advanced and more difficult because there's no action. And I think our mind likes a little action. So I like a flame in a dark room because the flame's flickering and you could be observing it. And your mind's thinking about the flame, the fire, the light, the glow, and it keeps your mind occupied. So these are all practices that you could do. Breathing practices, meditation practice, and that is the goal of meditation. It's to still the mind. So there's no thinking, because we know it's overthinking is the major cause of stress we have in our life today. So, and then of course, yoga, where we should be combining the breathing with the meditative state and be doing the asana, stretching, listening to the teacher, not thinking, just being guided by the teacher. And the teacher says, reach and hold. You don't think, you just reach and hold. So true asana is a type of meditation. And this is the most healthy thing you can do. Other treatments, before we get on and talk about dietary guidelines and herbal treatments, are of course music. I find that relaxing music, sleeping music, peaceful music, very, very effective. In fact, when people come to my clinic and I know that they're a person that has a history of anxiety, I change the music from my working music over to some very relaxing music. So, and it's very effective. And then the people come in the room. Sometimes I'll burn some incense, some lavender, some sandalwood, or spray rose powder in the air because we can use scents. This is one value of essential oils. They're not very effective in treating many health conditions, and they're really over promoted and oversold. But they're very nice at creating scent. So you can have a little essential oil and light this in your room, and a little lavender, and then your mind is absorbed with the scent. And the scent, of course, is breathed in. It goes into the lungs, into the bloodstream, goes into the brain barrier, and it has an effect on you. Like when I treat animals oftentimes and they're nervous, I put essential oil of chamomile on like a little rag and then rub it around their nose and let them breathe it in to just calm them down before I like work on a wound or something like that. So it can be quite calming, essential oils, but the effect is only very short. We're going to talk about herbs and teas that can help you all day long, and ones that are very specialized in different types of emotional states. So other things we can do, or we could call causes. We need to remove the causes. Let's go back to the causes. Why are we overthinking? Why is our heart racing? Why are we having panic attacks? Why are we not sleeping? Well, we know it's a lot to do with the mind, and the mind is what? Stimulated overthinking. You can't stimulate the mind and then do meditation. And if the mind is overstimulated because you're a sensitive person, then you'll be overthinking. You'll be creating thoughts in your own head about the future, about the past, and you'll be creating, in a way, on the fantasies and worries and fears that don't exist. So removing stimulants. Number one, I wish I had $1 for every person who had anxiety and insomnia who was only drinking 1 cup of coffee. And sometimes if I can see the spouse is at the appointment, I'll ask the spouse, how many cups of coffee is your wife having? And spouse will generally say, a couple a day. So, and then some people say, well, it's decaf, or I'm having 1 cup. But anyway, these are stimulants: coffee, sugar. And another one that's a stimulant that a lot of people don't know about is chocolate. Many people come to me with insomnia and they're having chocolate every night and just stopping the chocolate. They said they're sleeping better. And other things that are, so all these stimulants need to be removed. Now, I know when you're having anxiety and then you don't sleep well, then of course you feel fatigued in the day. And then you have to take the coffee, and then the coffee is kind of pumping through your blood. And even at night when you're sleeping, it's still there. In fact, the coffee accumulates. I mean, you could drink a cup of coffee on Monday and somebody could draw your blood out on Wednesday and Thursday and still find caffeine in it. So if you had it in the morning, you have it the next day, that night, you have it the next day, and then you have another cup. So the caffeine level is going up all the time if you're having even 1 cup a day. So please let go of that concept of I'm only having 1 cup a day, or I'm only drinking in the morning. It's still a stimulant, and you're a person with anxiety or insomnia, then you need to stop it. Now, I know there's a bad cycle people get in, and they're not sleeping well. And so then they do the coffee, and then the coffee stops the sleep. So in that case, we usually have to give the person adrenal herbs and not mushrooms. Don't be fooled by all these online mushroom salesmen. These are mostly people who don't have any knowledge of how to use mushrooms therapeutically. They're combining 5 or 6 mushrooms together, and crazy as it is, they're putting coffee and chocolate and mushrooms all together. You can just avoid this fad. This is the newest fad going on. I've been in practice for decades, so I could probably write a book on fads. And right now, the biggest fad is mushrooms, coffee. Now, there are certain people they're useful for, but we don't use that. We have our own products like adrenal tea and other teas that we're using, ashwagandha, elethro, and other adaptogens, which are more suitable. So to get the person to have the energy during the day, but not overstimulate them so they could still sleep at night. Yep. Do you have that adrenal tea over there? Cool. And so I'll show you that tea in a moment. So other causes that need to be removed is like stressors like politics, overworking, having too many jobs. I've seen a lot of wealthy business people and they have multiple companies starting new ventures, and they're having panic attacks, insomnia, and they're off starting another business venture. So I'm always advising them, you need to simplify your life. You have enough money. You don't need to start another venture. You don't need to create another stressful activity. So you need to simplify your life. Changing your lifestyle is probably the most important thing you can do to reduce your anxiety. Why do I live in the countryside? Less stress. Nobody driving by at night, no traffic, country roads, country life. It's less stressful. So even though I'm not a stressed out person by nature, I've made big changes in my life to live in peaceful environments with, peaceful neighborhoods, and live a low stress life, avoiding highways, avoiding cities, avoiding airports as much as I can. But you can do these type of things too. You may just have to plan on it. But initially, I always tell people, don't watch the news, stressful. Don't get involved in politics, stressful. Don't start new projects and ventures and have double jobs. And also, another big cause of people's stress is debt. So spending money can create stress. Now, if you're wealthy and you can spend all the money and you're not borrowing it, okay, well, you're fortunate. But it doesn't make you happy. I mean, many people just only feel happy while they're spending, and then they go back to their unhealthy, stressful life, and it only gave them short-term pleasure. We see that a lot with wealthy people. But when we see people who don't have or are not wealthy and they're spending money for the short-term, feeling of feeling good, of buying things, and now they have the debt, they have the credit card debt, and that's just creating more stress. So having any form of debt is stressful. So avoiding debt, avoiding purchasing, simplifying your life, and other cause, of course, of anxiety is nutritional deficiencies, particularly like magnesium. Why are so many people taking magnesium for their nerves, their trembling, their anxiety? And many B vitamins also are very supportive of our nervous system, because what system in the body are we really treating here in these treatments? We're treating our nervous system, Medjavayu Sutra, our nerve system. So that's what we're treating. And we're balancing vata, we're treating the nervous system. That's essential. In Ayurveda, we treat first the dosha, which in this case we know is vata. Second, the system involved, that this is the nervous system. And third, the specific imbalance or disease, the third level of treatment. You cannot treat a person for anxiety in isolation without looking at their diet, their lifestyle, their habits. And many people are depleting themselves of nutrients. For example, I get a lot of anxiety cases of people who are doing intermediate fasting. Well, if you're fasting all day, your anxiety is going to go up. I mean, I eat 3 times a day, and you don't feed me all day, I'm going to get anxious and irritable. So, not eating is not helping your anxiety. And a lot of people are doing that. And then, of course, they're having coffee on top of that, and working late hours. So you can see how causes start to compound, and you have to first accept the responsibility and identify these causes that are in your case: drinking too much coffee, watching too much snooze, overworking, not eating enough, skipping meals. Another nutritional deficiency I see in general terms is people leaving out grains. I'm not having any grains, no grains. I don't know where this concept came from. I mean, that people don't want to gain weight. And I know in our society, we've tend to overeaten cookies, crackers, chips, and bread and things like that. So now we've gone to the other extreme, being very extreme people by nature. And now a lot of people have just eliminated all grains. Well, where are your B vitamins? Mostly in grains. So we see people who've done this grain-free diet, and now they have anxiety for the first time in their life. Even overweight and obese people, who've never really had much anxiety in their life, do grain-free diet, end up with some anxiety. I've seen it. So, if you're depriving yourself of food, you're only complicating the situation. And, mushrooms are not a cure-all. Intermediate fasting are not a cure-all. Two current fads. Not to say that there isn't value in that, but they're not cure-alls, and that's the way that they are presented. So we see a lot of people try these unhealthy diets, try these unhealthy fads like the coffee, mushroom, chocolate thing going on right now. And then this only makes the condition worse, because if you change too much and you change your life too much and you change your food too much, this is creating more stress. And particularly when you realize you didn't help and you've been counting on it. You had a false sense of security thinking your mushroom, chaga, lion's mane, reishi chocolate, shake that you bought off of Instagram is going to solve all your health problems. And then when you find out it doesn't, you're going to end up with more stress and more anxiety and more fear and you're going to feel a sense of hopelessness. Many of my clients feel they've tried everything. Well, they've tried everything that they saw on social media is what they've done. They haven't tried the right herbs. They've been guessing at herbs. And you can see there's a lot of this guessing, trying different things. I mean, very few people, I think, go out and fix their own car when it's broken. I mean, the car is very complicated these days. I mean, I have an old 40-year-old van. It's a little easier to fix before computers. But most cars are too advanced for most people to fix. So we don't bother even trying. We just take it to a mechanic. But the human body is far more complex than the most modern car. But people are online Googling all the time trying to find solutions. And this only, I think, creates more sense of hopelessness because they've tried everything. I hear this every day. For many health conditions, I've tried everything. But when I listen to what they tried, a lot of things they tried are actually making the condition worse. And so, you want a steady life. You want a steady routine. You want to eat at the same time. You want to sleep at the same time. And even once you find the right foods that balance you out, ground you out, and help with your mental state, then you need to repeat those foods. There's many foods that help with mental states, like oatmeal. Even in some of my herbs, you can see we use oat straw. Oats is very good for the nervous system. It's even known to help to heal the myelin sheath, when there's nerve damage. So we know that there's many foods and a lot of herbs that can help support the nervous system. It's no secret. I mean, people thousands and thousands of years ago, since the dawn of time when humans began, they all had some stress. And they didn't take them too long to find that there were certain plants and herbs that helped. And now we're fortunate that we have all this knowledge. It's already been accumulated. Possibly the greatest, knowledge and accomplishment of humankind is herbalism, because it took tens of thousands of years of trial and error, all these millions, if not billions of plants out there, to determine what the effects of all these plants were on our body. And now in many systems like Chinese medicine and Ayurvedic medicine, it's documented. And most of this, like we're talking about today, many of these herbs we're talking about today, and formulas that we're talking about that I'm going to present to you next, these were being used thousands and thousands of years ago. So it's not a new condition that just showed up. and that there's no cure from. That's nonsense. There's already, humans have already figured out how to reduce down anxiety, how to manage stress better, how to get them to sleep. Humans figured it out a long time ago. Any good herbalist can help you do that. But again, I repeat, you cannot just treat your anxiety or your depression or your anger, any mental state, any health condition really in isolation. You can't just say, oh, you're anxious, drink some lemon balm. Oh, you have anxiety, you can't sleep, drink some chamomile. This is a very allopathic, narrow-minded type of treatment. You're thinking like you're going to take a chamomile capsule instead of a sleeping med. No, you have to treat yourself. And if you're a practitioner, you have to treat the person holistically. You have to identify what is the cause. And we just covered many of those. And most of the time, we're talking about anxiety, heart palpitations, overthinking, poor sleep, insomnia. There's always some stimulants in there. Coffee, chocolate, overwork, news, and things like this. They're almost always there. And then if there's not those, then there's like these poor eating habits, skipping meals, insufficient, fat in the diet, insufficient magnesium and minerals, insufficient grains that are calming and good for the nervous system. Or there's just erratic eating, erratic living. And of course, we can't forget the use of pharmaceutical drugs. Many pharmaceutical drugs can create anxiety, and many recreational drugs also can create anxiety. And most people are aware of some of these triggers and causes, but they still need to be identified, and you still need to encourage your patient or yourself and accept that these need to go. You don't have to do it overnight, but you have to accept and identify these causes. Even if it's like debt, then you need to focus on that and get rid of debt in your life if you want to be in a more healthy state of mind, or what we spoke about earlier, the Sattvic mind, which is the peaceful, meditative, not affected mind. It's not affected. Like, is there something happening? And there's no thoughts. There's only your actions. Like I said, when something breaks and you freak out, then you're overthinking. But if you just go get the dustpan and sweep it up and throw it in the trash, then your mind is Sattvic. And that's our goal. Because only when your mind is at peace can you be happy. If your mind is not at peace, then you will not find happiness. You may find short-term pleasure, which is unfortunately what most people think is happiness, to please themselves. But this is very short-lived, only during that little point of pleasure. And then you go back to your life, and you lie back down in your bed and you turn off the lights. And without that pleasure, all those emotions, whether it's depression, anger, anxiety, are still there. So be careful of going down the slippery slope of just trying to please yourself in recreational drugs or TV or other types of shopping. There's many ways people try to, or alcohol, or try to overcome that mental state that they're not happy with. But what I'm trying to teach you today is that your lifestyle is important, and that practices like breathing, meditation, and yoga and herbal remedies are very effective to improve your mental state. Okay, so I think we covered a lot on causes and changes to lifestyle, and that's always the first step. And diet is a big subject. Every person is individualized, but skipping meals, having incomplete meals, this is not healthy for your mental state. But I can't really cover diet because each person is very individualistic, and nobody can tell you what to eat. In fact, you hear me say this on almost every webinar, that all diets that you're reading about, whether there's an MD wrote it or a super athlete wrote it, or or it's a paleo diet, carnivore diet, vegan diet. They're all fads. You got that? All fads. Ignore them all. Nobody can tell you what to eat from a book because we're all very different. We're all very unique. And every adult has some health issues and imbalances. Nobody comes out perfect. We all have our strengths and we all have our weaknesses. And some people have a strong digestion. Some people have a weak digestion. Some people get gas and bloating easy. Some people get acidity easy. Some people get constipated easy. Some people have loose stools easy. So different diets are necessary for different people. And if you have children, you have to understand your children enough that you're able to give them the proper food and not just project what you think is good. And we see this a lot with parents. Well, you should eat your salad. You should eat your tomatoes. Well, that may not be a healthy food for that child. That child may not have the digestive system to digest that. And I'm glad we're on the subject of digestion, because if your digestion's poor and you're not absorbing your foods, whether you're because you're eating the wrong foods or foods that are too hard for you to digest, you're not going to get nutrients. You're not going to get nutrients. You're going to be lacking. You're going to lack in vitamins. You're going to have cravings. You're going to be possibly overeating and grazing and snacking, and there could be weight gain, and all that can lead to more stress. So there is even a deeper root cause, which is very common, and that is poor digestion. So poor digestion has to be always treated for all mental states if the person has poor digestion. I'll give a little joke, and that is like people who have, say, constipation. I ask them, how do you feel when you're constipated? And one thing people have said is, I feel shitty. So this shows you right there that when you're constipated, you're not in a good mood. It's affecting your mood, your digestion. And when you have a good, there's another old saying that says, if you give a poor man his favorite meal, he feels happy. So if you're eating the meal that you like, and we're not talking cookies and candy, but we're talking the meal that feels good for you, satiates you, easy to digest, you feel satisfied, you like that taste, whether it's sweet, sour, hot, and it's suitable for you, then you feel good, even if you're poor. Now, if you're a rich man and somebody brings you a meal that you don't like, you don't feel happy. So the food you eat and the choices you make about your diet and what you eat are very important. And people who are constantly eating foods they don't like are going to be unhappy. And that's more, I cover this more in my talk on depression. So let's talk about herbs that we can take. We'll start off with Western herbs first, because I'm a Western herbalist and Indian herbalist, so I have Western tea line. Now the teas, first of all, you have to understand teas are very light. They're made in infusions or decoction, and they will hit the body and get in the bloodstream quickly within a few minutes, and you will last for a couple hours, and then they will disperse. So they're lighter. So a lot of health issues cannot be treated very well with tea, but they're helpful, particularly if you have a couple cups during the day. Here's one that's very popular for us. Probably our top selling tea, actually. We call it Chill Out. Its original name was Relaxing and Calming Tea. And this is probably our top seller. The base is lemon balm. That's from the mint family. Now, I did see people online who were selling lemon balm as a source of relaxing. Well, it's not very relaxing. It's from the mint family. Now, if we look at the whole mint family and we look at peppermint, spearmint, I think motherwort, lemon balm, there's others. I mean, lemon balm is the most supportive of the nervous system. So that's why we use it as a base. And of course, it has a nice flavor. Well, peppermint can be a little stimulating to our digestion, but it's not going to really make you sleepy. And then we put in skullcap, which is definitely a good nervine. And then catnip. I mean, even cats feel good after that. And then motherwort. This is a very relaxing herb. But I would say the most important herb in here besides skullcap is the passionflower. Passionflower helps a lot with anxiety and nervousness. And if you were just to drink one single herb, which one herb never works as well as a combination, passionflower would be a good choice. And if you're having panic attacks, then you could add a little chamomile or some other sedatives to it, like, catnip or skullcap. But again, we put oat straw in here, which I mentioned earlier. This is not that relaxing. You don't feel it, but it supports the nervous system. And then we put in lavender and rose petal, which gives you the scent. So you can just smell the lavender and rose petals like essential oils. You already feel relaxed. And then you've got the passion flower and the motherwort and the skullcap, which we know helps calm the nervous system. And motherwort we also use in our heart tea to help to bring down the blood pressure and to relax the heart. So racing heart is helped a lot with that. And there's a little rosemary in here and a little cinnamon. They're more uses like to make it a little warming and like a catalyst to make the herbs work better together. So that's very nice formula tea. The formula is what's really important. That's why, you should always have a formula, not, just one single herb. I mean, if you're learning herbs, it's good to take them one at a time so you can experience them and understand how it's affecting your nervous system. But for treatment, it's better to have a complete formula like this one. Now, when you ingest the herbs, however, like in this form, powder, and we do provide these also in capsule upon request, but we make these here. So they are mixed up in powder form as per Ayurveda is mostly taking powdered herbs. And it's a very sophisticated herbal system, and they don't use a lot of teas because you're only taking the extract, so to speak, of the tea. And here, when you take the powder, it's much more effective, as much as 10 times more effective. And in fact, it's more cost effective. I mean, the tea will go fast. Those bags of tea, people can go through them having a couple cups a day, and they'll go back through a bag of tea in a couple weeks. But the powder, you can take much less, half teaspoon, and it can last much longer in the day. So let's look at some of these key herbs here. And if you're familiar with Ayurveda, you're going to know many of them. And we're going to talk about some of these herbs. Now, the first one is ashwagandha. But ashwagandha is an adaptogen, so it does help with stress. But it's really not going to, it may help you sleep better by, we now know that it lowers cortisol. There's some tests come out on that. So it could help you sleep. But by itself, it's not going to be that effective. In fact, many people said, I already tried ashwagandha, it didn't work. Well, that's not surprising. But it is a nice supportive, it's the base of the formula. But the real ones that are making you relaxed is jatamansi and shankhpushpi. We could compare jatamansi to like passionflower or something. But here, they're both jatamansi and shankhpushpi are both flowers, just like chamomile and lavender. And you notice a lot of flowers are very relaxing. So these are very good for the nervous system. And there's brahmi, one of the more famous Ayurvedic herbs. And this is good for the mind and calming the mind, stealing the mind. And it's one of the main herbs that are considered Southwick, means good for meditation. And there's tagar. Tagar is what really gives this thing the really like take out the panic attack feeling. And tagar is also called Indian valerian. So it is related to valerian, but it's not as sedative and you don't feel as heavy. And you can see it's only a small percent. I think it's probably only 5-10% of the whole formula. But the combination, again, as it says, reduces nervousness and anxiety. And you only really need to take like a quarter teaspoon. And better that you take it with some fatty substance like warm milk, or even some warm water with some ghee. And this is the most effective formula. So a lot of times I have clients and they'll take 1 teaspoon of this in the morning. If you wake up with anxiety in the morning, you can take that first thing in the morning. And then during the day, they can drink the chill out tea. Now, again, if you had no energy, probably the chill out tea would make you a little too sleepy and say you didn't sleep good. Then you could have what I talked about earlier, the adrenal tea. Now, the adrenal tea is non-stimulating energy. And there you go. There's that ashwagandha again, but without the relaxing herbs. So it's kind of giving you some energy. And even ashwagandha by itself doesn't have really enough pickup for somebody who's used to a cup of coffee. So we put some alethro in there, which is, of course, called Russian ginseng. And licorice, we also know, is very good for the adrenals. So, yeah, and it's a type of adaptogen too. So you got 3 adaptogens there, plus backed by cinnamon, like the tea, and cardamom, more for the flavor. Very pleasant, very nice tea, and it can be used to replace your coffee. Um, and so if a person is dependent on coffee, I probably just get, and they're already dozy and sleepy during the day, then I'm going to give them the adrenal tea. Now, if they're panicking and waking up in the morning and having racing heart first thing in the morning, then I'm going to give them the calming first thing in the morning. And if they have a real stressful job or a stressful life, maybe you're working in a daycare, or you got a lot of kids, or you're working in a stressful office, and it's just, then you can drink the relaxing tea all day. But if you're sleepy and dozing out because you've already gone through adrenal fatigue and burnout, and you're dependent on coffee, and you're crashing all day long and you can't stay awake, but you're also having anxiety, then that's when the adaptogens work. But if you're having panic attacks, racing heart, unable to function, then you need these more calming herbs. Now, we have more of these adaptogens. And again, I'll repeat, when they're in powder, they're more effective than in tea. But the why I like this adrenal tea is they can do it first thing in the morning and get them going, pick them up, keep them away from the coffee. But if you're fatigued and sleepy in the afternoon and you're somebody who's susceptible to anxiety, you can't be touching that coffee, then we give you this adrenal tonic. And again, the first ingredient is ashwagandha. But we have more. We have Vidari Khan, which is a type of potato. It's very grounding. Bala, which means strength, so it's building. And there's brahmi again, the premier herb for the mind. Tulsi, this is balancing vata, and cinnamon and licorice, you saw both in the tea, and little cumin and ginger, because that's to help you to digest the powder. So this supports adrenal health, provides non-stimulating energy, and helps you to not just reduce anxiety, but really just deal with stress better. So these two are a common combo here: adrenal tea in the morning, adrenal formula during the day, and then at night we can give them a sleeping tea like knockout sleeping tea, or we have sleeping formulas on that. And if the person has like, I don't like these medical terms, but it helps you understand what we're talking about, like inability to focus, ADHD and stuff like, then we can give brahmi ghee. Now there are other herbs in this ghee besides just the brahmi, but this really improves not only memory, but helps strengthen the adrenals, helps you to focus. And we do use it for ADHD. We just don't use that term. But there it is, ghee, clarified butter, prepared with the brahmi leaf. And this is very nice, and this one can be used for children, even young children. Children going to school and they're nervous and in school, the mother can give them a half teaspoon or 1 teaspoon in the morning. And being in the ghee, it's very gentle and very like slow release. It can last for 4 or 5 hours. Very, very popular in India in Ayurveda. Now, if we have special conditions of the mind, say we have mental instability, I think it could be called like OCD type conditions or ADHD. We have a very famous Ayurvedic formula right here, and we just rename it for simple terms. And this is for many psychological issues like OCD, ADHD, psychosis, epilepsy, even schizophrenia. And this is a very advanced formula, Kalyanka Grita. There's the name right there, the Indian name, Kalyanka Grita. And it does really help to stabilize the mental state. So this is, sometimes this could be combined. So we try to change the person's diet to make sure it's grounding. And then we can use these teas and herbs as tools to help the person to get through the day without managing the stress better, and to keep anxiety at a minimum. And then later on, we can give herbs again at night to get them to sleep. And it works very fast. We're talking within days. Now, if there's sense of depression involved. Then we have this one called Mood Balancer. And it was originally, this formula was for depression. Um, and so it still says that on the label: mild depression, anxiety, and even irritability. And this is very popular. Three herbs, if you're familiar with Ayurveda: brahmi, again, one third of this formula; shankhpushpi, which is a cooling, relaxing flower, which you saw in the calming tea; and then not jatamansi like the other formula, but jodas matsi. Now, a lot of people don't know this Ayurvedic herb, and it is used for depression, and it's very uplifting. And shankhpushpi is used for irritability, and brahmi is used for calming. So this three herbs, which was taught to me by another Ayurvedic doctor, has been very, very effective at balancing people's moods. And we sell it in powder, and we also sell it in capsule. Now, some people, they find I can sedate them too much. They said my anxiety's gone, but I feel a little groggy headed and I have to work. And so then we may have this type. We have other specialized formulas, and I can make, of course, formulas, but we call this was very popular, calm and clear. So it's kind of like the person who has anxiety, but they at the same time they have to keep their cognitive function up. So if the first herb is actually a formula, churna, 13 herbs called Saraswati churna, and this is used for memory and dementia, and that's half the formula. That's what's the clear part. And then we just put in some relaxing herbs like brahmi, jatamansi, and shankhpushpi, which you saw in the calming formula, but this doesn't have the tagar, so you don't get that dull effect on the brain. So many people prefer this if they're working and they have to work and go to school and they're just trying to stay calm and clear. So we have very specialized formulas. And we also have calm and cool for somebody who has anger issues as well. So you really have to find a herbalist who knows the herbs, who knows how to understand the different mental states and prepare formulas for you. And then the results are very fast and very effective. You can see here from my testimonials that we have a lot of people that are very surprised on how fast the results are. Here under my website, under testimonials, we have anxiety related testimonials. And this is a person who's actually talking about my anger formula called Cool Head formula. And she says, wow, it really helped her with frustration and anger. So even anger is easily managed with herbs. But here, no more anxiety and head in the clouds, probably getting the person to eat more, get off their coffee and take their herbs. You could read these on my website. In just a few short weeks, I'm already seeing significant changes in their mood, their attitude, their sleep, no more migraines or vertigo. Here's a person clearly noting the herbs themselves, the herbs and oils. And sometimes I didn't bring any today, but we also have relaxing oils, sleeping oils, massage oils that can help as well. So I think, I gave this person teas, oils, and herbs to take care of their anxiety and make them sleep. And here's somebody talking about our relaxing and calming tea, which I showed you, and the adrenal tea. So I probably gave them the adrenal tea in the morning, the calming tea after work, and then the sleeping formula at night. And this improved their whole rhythm. And right away, they feel much better. This doesn't take months and months of treatment. You're taking these adrenal tea in the morning, relaxing tea in the evening, some sleeping herbs in the late evening before bed. Your whole cycle is now improved of sleeping on more, not needing coffee, having more energy just by 3 products. And I think that's what I gave this person here. Here's somebody just recommending me. Anybody with experiencing anxiety, recommend Khabir. You could go read this. My mind is much more calm. The calming powder, which is what I showed you, it really helped in those times of anxiety. Some people, they'll take the relaxing tea all day, and then only when they have anxiety attacks and panic attacks, then they take this formula. And then somebody's mentioning that their sleep's much better. Their sleeping issues went away. Stress is definitely down. So you can see these people are giving me these testimonials because they're so surprised how fast I'm able to treat these conditions. So I hope that gives you hope that someone like myself who takes the time, understands your health holistically, looks at your diet, looks at your lifestyle, and gives you concrete things that you can change in your life, and then backs it up with herbal remedies that can help you relax, sleep better, feel better, and reduce stress very quickly. And then you can slowly work on changing your life, changing your habits to make yourself more of a Sattvic, calm, peaceful person. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I hope this inspired you, and I hope it helped you. God bless you all. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm done. I feel more relaxed just listening to myself. Okay, I got to stop the YouTube. I think YouTube is still going now. Let me stop the YouTube, and then let me know if you have any questions. If you're on YouTube, I'm not responding to chat on YouTube. I'm only responding here on my system. So uh, I hope you have any questions there, folks. I'm watching my YouTube here. I think it's still going. All right. Well, no more questions. Um, yeah, my YouTube is still going here. Right, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was a little longer than usual. Oh, you only got part of the. Hey, Anka, good to see you. Well, there'll be a recording. If the recording was okay, you will get the recording, and if you registered, which you obviously did, then you just wait. It takes about an hour or so, and then the recording is ready, and then I will send it out to you, and you'll get a link, and you can watch the recording. Okay. Good to see you, Anka. Hope you're doing well. Uh, all right. Thank you very much. I appreciate Andra. Can going on a cleanse help? No. Detoxing and cleansing is not going to help your anxiety. In fact, it could make it worse because you're going to end up depleted. It's the opposite direction. See, this is the problem with getting guidelines from Facebook and social media, is that there's people out there that think detoxing is a cure-all, just like they're selling the mushrooms with coffee. They think it's some type of cure-all. You really got to watch this stuff. Don't ever just one little thing pops up doesn't mean that this is all correct. I mean, everybody's just trying to sell you something in this country, and you need to be very careful. But when you're talking your nervous system, you're not talking detox. We're not talking your colon or constipation or fatty liver or obesity. Oh, thank you. I love that comment. Very powerful presentation. Thank you very much. I know I was feeling good. I think it was that breathing I did before. But back to the detox question. That's a very good question. That's the wrong direction. Am I clear? Wrong direction. Your nervous system is never helped by detoxing unless you had some like herpes virus and you had to kill the virus onto your nervous system. But your nerves are never supported by detoxings and cleansing and fasting. It's not going to happen. Maybe your colon, maybe your liver, maybe you lose some weight. It's not that these treatments don't have value, but and of course, this whole term detoxing, I don't even like it because I don't know what anybody's talking about when they talk about detoxing. I mean, I have cleanses for your liver. You know, if it's fatty liver, I have cleanses for your colon. If you have diverticuli, I have cleanses for the kidneys. If they're blocked and blocking kidney stones, I have cleanse for your gallbladder. You know, if you have gallstones, but I don't know what the word detox means. It doesn't have any value to me, but I know what you're thinking. But you know, in practice, I don't really know what a person's doing when they're doing detox. But no, detox, eating, relaxing, sleeping, that's what's going to help your nervous system, not detox. All right. So, any more questions? That was a really good question, though. Hate to shoot it down, but it was a good question. Oh, yeah, we got some more comments here. Yeah. All right. Yeah, Anka. Yeah, you know, sleeping issues. I've done many webinars on sleeping, and I will say that, you know, it's easier to get somebody asleep than it is to help them with anxiety. I mean, I have sedative herbs and just sedate you and knock you out. I mean, why do you think this? We changed our tea to knockout tea. We called it sleeping tea for a decade, and then people just called it knockout tea. So we just took their name and we made the name knockout tea. Now, you can go to the store and you can buy some sleepy time tea, but you look in it, you won't see hops, which is used in making beer, poppy seeds, which is used in making, you know, opiumates. So I put poppy seed and oats in here, and they're kind of frowned upon because actually, you know, you travel around the world with poppy seeds tea in your bag, and you're gonna alert a few security dogs, which I've done before. But you know, you don't get arrested. They know that the dog smells the poppy and they think it's a drug. But my point is that this tea is much more sedative and much stronger than any tea you could buy in the store. And besides that, we have formulas, and the formula is 10 times stronger than the tea. I mean, we had people. I had this. Well, we're talking about insomnia. I had this one woman, and she's a client. She called. You know, many people come to me just for anxiety or insomnia, but this one woman, she was so funny, and she couldn't sleep. So I told her to take a warm bath, have a nice meal, forget all this detoxing and fasting, have a nice fish and, you know, rice and oil and butter, a nice nourishing, calming meal. Then an hour or two later, after she digested, go take a salt bath and go in your bedroom and put on some really relaxing music and close all the windows and make it nice and warm, and then take a salt bath with some flowers and a candle in the room. So I gave her the whole 9 yards. And oh, I told her, while you're in the bath, drink my relaxing tea. That's right. I remember. Drink the relaxing tea, and then make a shot of my sleeping formula. And I have a few sleeping formulas. I don't give the same thing to everybody. And put that on the bathroom counter. So she's in the bathtub. So she told me the story later, how it worked, because I saw her a month later. I said, how'd it go? You get to sleep? And she goes, oh yeah, let me tell you the story. So I had a nice meal, no more skipping meals, felt good. I make a nice salt bath. I turned off the lights. I put on some nice music, and I had a candle in there, and I was drinking the relaxing tea in the bathtub. She said, I was slow sleepy, that she wrapped a towel around herself and she crawled on her hands and knees to the bedroom. So, you know, I'm talking to the woman, and she's, you know, I'm kind of visualizing her, you know, with a towel wrapped around her, just crawling on her hands and knees to the bedroom. And then she said she slugged down the sleeping formula, because she had it. I told her to prepare it. So she tossed it down, and she woke up in the morning on top of the bed, nude, with her towel. That was it. So I said, okay, maybe we need to back off a little on the herbs. Maybe you do a half a teaspoon of the formula. So, you know, I told her, instead of making a strong cup of the tea, maybe instead of 2-3 teaspoons, just make it 1 teaspoon. But see, once she'd knocked out that one night, fell asleep right on the bed, because I told her, warm the room up. And that's probably why she didn't have to get under the blankets, because the room was so warm. and the lights were all off, and she just fell asleep right on top of the bed. She said she literally woke up in the morning with the sunrise, and never got under the covers. That's how effective these sleeping herbs are. And then once she slept good, guess what? She felt fantastic the next day. The next day. Many people tell me that they take the knockout tea, sleeping herbs, and then the next day they feel better. And then already they're one day because they slept. And then the next day they don't feel they need a coffee, which was why they weren't sleeping to some degree. And they're feeling more calm. They're feeling more grounded because they slept. Half your problem with anxiety and even poor energy is your poor sleep. So, once the sleep is resolved, then you're getting on a much better cycle. So sleep, easy for me to treat, easier than anxiety. Somebody said I'm a good storyteller. Were you all I wish we had a photo of her. We could imagine this thin. She was a thin, nervous woman, crawling on her hands and knees from the bathroom to her bed, shooting the tea down, lying on the bed, passing out. I was laughing, and every time I see her, I tell her I think it's a funny story. And she just basically says she's taking less of the herbs. She only takes the sleeping formula, half a teaspoon every night. That's it. And sometimes when people first get these herbs, they take 1 teaspoon. They said didn't work. I said, okay, you take 2. And they go, oh, that worked. I felt groggy the next day, but I slept. Then they can go back to 1 teaspoon. And after you have these herbs pumping through your blood for this every day, you now are relaxed all the time. You've got this chamomile pumping through your blood. You've got brahmi pumping through your blood. Your mind's more calm. Just like before, you had coffee pumping through your blood all the time because you're having your 1 cup a day. And so you have caffeine pumping through all the time. So you're never feeling sleeping deep. You're probably urinating at night too because of the coffee's diuretic qualities. And then you're going to get maybe heart palpitations from your and be sensitive and anxious because you're having that 1 cup of coffee every day for years. And it's pumping through your blood. But once you get off the coffee and you're taking herbs every day, now the herbs, these nervines, these relaxing herbs, these adaptogens are just in your blood all the time. So you become calmer all the time. Spouses are really happy. Like you meet the husband and he goes, oh my God, my wife, she's so much more calm and relaxed. I mean, I mix the herbs and give it to her because it's helped her so much. So, your spouse or the people you're living with, they just see a completely different person when you've been taking these relaxing nervines and adaptogens every day for weeks and weeks. You're sleeping better, you're feeling better, you're not dependent on coffee. And all of these herbs and teas, I will say, all have vitamins and minerals. They're all plants, barks, leaves, roots. So they all have vitamins and minerals. So you're not like a pill. It doesn't have any vitamins and minerals. They put a sugar coating over the top of it. So, there's no nutrients at all in a medication. And they're all harming your liver and your kidneys besides that. And many of them are addictive. But the herbs, on the other hand, they're cheap. You can take them, most of them, not everything, but for ongoing. I mean, I've been taking some herbs every day for 30 years, for my memory. I have my memory tea every morning, and memory herbs. Sometimes I do colon herbs, sleeping herbs, focus herbs. I mean, whatever need I have, I've got the herb. They're not like medication where you're dependent on it and it's harmful and you only want to do it when you have a serious health problem. No, you want to do these herbs when you need help. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think we've said a lot. I got a lot of great feedback. Thank you very much for your comments. Those people on YouTube, please try to join me on my normal site so you can also comment in the future. Take care. I love you all. Wish you the best. Please contact me. There's no reason to suffer. If you're having anxiety or insomnia, please contact me and let's just do an appointment and take care of it. Simple. God bless you all. Thank you very much.